All right, I'll quit with all the stories. And so here's our main goal for today. We want to talk about increasing a price and decreasing. We're in Unit 9. This is Unit 9, our last unit before we take the test. This is it. So this is homework 9. So homework number 9. All right, so how do you take a $150 price and increase it 20% and decrease it 20%? Let's think about taking a $150 price and increasing it 20% and decreasing it 20%. I think you can all do that with your calculator easy, right? But here's our goal. It's not just, hey, give me the answer, what's the final answer for each of those. I know you can all do that with the greatest of ease. Here's my desire. I want us to come up with a formula because, as soon as we get done with this, we're going to dive into a whole bunch of word problems, and there'll be, I believe there's 5 of them that use this particular idea. So if we can come up with something, because, it's easy with numbers. I know you can all just hit the buttons on your calculator and do that, and we will in a minute. But the goal is to eventually come up with some kind of a formula that'll be useful even when there's letters and words and much more complex stuff involved, that we get down to the bottom line idea. And here's what I want us to be able to do. I want you to come up with a way that you can take $150 and multiply it by something to come up with the final answer, which you'll get however you get in a second. And then likewise, a way you can take $150 and multiply by one thing and come up with the decreased price. Does that make sense what our goal is? So let's go ahead and get some answers, just whichever way you want. And then, but keep in mind, think to yourself, how could I have done it more easily? Just multiply by one thing and get the new increased price, or multiply by one thing and get the new decreased price. I know you won't start that way. You'll start doing it, a longer way, and that's totally fine. But why don't we go ahead and start? We want the final increased price here. So you want to come up with a final increased price here, and then on the other side, we want to get the final decreased price here. So keep working. So what's the final increased price?
180.
180. Oops, wrong color there. 180. Good. And what's the final decreased price? 120. That looks good. Y'all getting that? Are we all on the same page? Getting those? And so now we want, and how did you do that? Didn't it take a couple of steps to get that answer? Didn't you have to multiply and then add or subtract to make that happen? So how could we do that in one step? We want to just take the 150 and do one thing to him to get the new, 180, for example. You know what I mean by the new increased price? How can we go from 150, do one thing, in fact, I'm even showing multiply, and get the new 180. So how about keep thinking about that, and let me give you a hint. One good direction to think about is think about what you did with the 150. So you took the $150, and then what exactly did you do with the 150? Be really clear on everything you did with the 150. Because that's what we're trying to figure out, is what exactly do you do to a 150 to get the answer of 180? Writing it out. So here's what I mean by writing it out. So what did we do? Let's agree as a group. For the increase, let's just do the increase half. What did we do to the 150 to increase it and find that 180 answer? What'd y'all do? I just mean, I don't want to get to the final answer yet. Just up here. What'd you do first time when you first got the answer?
Multiply 150 by 0.20 and add the product back 150.
Yeah, so you added by 0.20. We all good? Isn't that what you did? With the calculator or by hand, you multiplied by 0.20. And then you added, what'd you add?
30.
No. That equaled 30. That's not what you added. So track with me. Track with me. Stay with me. I know this is 30. I'm saying this, I added what to? You added what to? What did you literally do? It's funny how we do things and have trouble saying what we're doing, huh? And that's a lot of, math is patterns. Math is the science of patterns. So think really carefully about what pattern you followed. What precise, it's almost like Sherlock Holmes. What exactly did I do? You did 150 times 0.2. I know you got an answer of 30, but I'm not interested in writing down answers. I just want process. I know this is 30, but then what did we do from there? Added 150, huh? Added 150. Okay, so isn't that exactly what you did? Multiplied by 0.20 and then added 150. Okay, so do you remember your algebra days? Do you remember algebra? What if you had, 3x plus 3? Do you remember factoring? What could you take out of that? Remember that? Are these happy memories I'm calling upon here? Sorry, it's just always funny for me. All right, so what's left inside? X plus 1, yeah, because that would multiply and go right back, huh? That's called factoring. It's reverse multiplying. It's reverse distribution, right? Remember that kind of thing? See that pattern? So I could go from multiplying, adding to one big multiplication problem, huh? That's what factoring is. Factoring is turning something into times, multiplied. So go back to here. Do you see that 150? Treat it like an X. What could I do with that 150 if I factored it out? Or treat this like the X, I should say. And let me go back here. So 3x plus 3, you take out the 3, huh? What if I had 7x plus 7? What would I do? Take out the 7. What if I had 150x plus 150? What would I do? Take out the 150. And what if instead of that being an x, it was something like a 0.20? Same thing, huh? Don't even need those parentheses. We got the other parentheses. Same thing. Isn't that exactly the same? Isn't that pattern identical to what you learned in algebra? Do you remember that? You see what I'm talking about there? Right? Take out a 7, take out a 150. So back here, when you've got a 150 and a 150, and this is like an x, and an x is just a number you don't currently know. It's a variable, hiding a number you don't currently know. So if you take out that 150, what's left inside? 0.20 plus 1, huh? Because that 150 could multiply and be back to this, and multiply, and 150 times 1 is just 150, huh? And so what is this right here? 1.20. So that's one step. So that's quicker, isn't it? So you can take the 150 and multiply by 1.20. You can try it on your calculator. You guys have calculators? Try it real quick. Take 150 and multiply by 1.20. Hit equals. It goes straight to the 180. Does that make sense? So increasing a price by 20%, you can do it the long way, multiply by 0.20 and then add 150. Or you can just, instead of multiplying by 0.20, what would save you work and just make it one step, is just throw a 1 in front of that. Does that make sense? I told you my PG&E story, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, so that's exactly what I experienced when I was working for PG&E that summer, right? And I told them that they could just put a 1 in front and that they would get the whole total. And they thought I was doing some amazing college trick and they didn't trust it. But it's simple, right? Just put the 1. What does the 1 do? It gives you back the original, doesn't it? 1 times anything is itself. So the 1 gives you the original 150 and the 0.20 gives you the increase and you get the whole thing when you put the 1 in front. Now, can we do the same thing over here? Now, I think that one you might have already known from what we talked about. This one we've definitely not known. It's very similar, though. Can you do the same thing with the 150 over there and try to come up with a formula on that one? So let me let you think about for just another. I want to get into those word problems, but...
And this simplified, it ends up to be a negative 1 times 0.2, which is just negative.
Okay, can we write down what exactly did we do with the 150?
150 minus 150 times 0.2.
Yeah, right. So if I was to write it down this way, first, didn't we take the $150, multiply by 0.20, got an answer. Again, I don't care what that answer is. I'm not going to write 30. And then, is this right? Then I subtracted 150. Not quite, huh? It's the other way. We subtracted that because this part here came out 30, and we subtracted that from 150, right? We put the 150 in front and then subtracted the 150 times 0.20. Didn't we? Isn't that what you did to get your answer of 120? Right? Didn't you did this first, you multiplied by 0.20, which we know that comes out 30. And then we subtracted it from the original 150, not took away the 150 in the back. Are you tracking with me? So that careful kind of pattern thinking is what you're going to need to do in Math 100 more. See how we're carefully tracking with what we did to come up with the general formula. So now what could I do with these two? Factor out the 150 like we talked about last time. So what's going to be in the front then? 150 times what would go back to 150? Just 1, huh? And 150 times what would go back to 150 times 0.20? The 0.20. And of course I know that's 0.80 and we could do that and everything. But really I'd rather, what I'm going for again is not answers, but a method, a formula. Do you see the formula? In fact, maybe it'll help if I reorder these. We had written this 0.2 plus 1. But you know the order of adding doesn't matter, right? 2 plus 3, 3 plus 2, either way you do it, order never matters. So if I reorder it to put the 1 in the front, just so it looks like the other one, do you see a pattern here? Do you see these two formulas we came up with? 150 times 1 plus 0.20 and 150 times 1 minus 0.20. Increase plus, decrease minus. You see how it works? In other words, so you guys know this comes out 0.80, right? And then that'll give us, if you multiply 150 times 0.80, what are you going to get? Yeah, the $120 price. It'll automatically decrease the price for us. So in other words, let's talk this out reasonably. If you increase a price 20%, you got to add 20% to the 1. And if you decrease a price 20%, if you take 20% of it away, how much is left? 80% of it. Of course. That makes sense, doesn't it? All right, so with that in mind, let me give you a summary. So on an increase, then we'll jump into our word problems. On an increase, decrease, percent problem, we're going to have, I think it's 5 of these. The easy way to do it, the formula we've come up with, is it's the original price, right? Isn't that the 150? 150, that was the original price, times 1 plus or minus the percentage equals the new price. Isn't that what we see here? So I'm coming up with that. The original price times 1 plus or minus the percentage, and that comes out to equal the new. So there's our formula. So that's the one we're going to use. There we go. Number 1. All right. So this is homework number 9. Question number 1. A set of tires is on sale for 30% off, bringing the price down to $161. What was the original price? Okay, so notice in that question, as you're writing it down, let me help you observe, because a lot of the battle on a math test, and in math in general, is recognition. Isn't that a lot of the battle? How would you recognize that as a percent increase, decrease, as opposed to a general percentage? Are you tracking with what I'm saying? So there's general percentage problems, and then there's increase, decrease. So in fact, it'd probably be good if I just wrote out a general one. What do I mean by a general one? Let me just rewrite this one for you. So on homework number 9, question 1. 30% off, 161. Okay. So tires are 30% off. Price drops to, was it 131? 160, 161. 61. What was the original price? That's what they're asking. Yeah, do you see that that's a percent increase, decrease question, as opposed to, like, what if they had said, hey, what's the 30% of the class was gone, 22 people were gone. So that's actually probably a lot. Let's say 12. 12 people were gone. How big was the class originally? Do you see that that's not a percent increase, decrease? I'm just you don't even have to write that one down. I'm just scribbling it in the corner. Do you see how this would not be a percent increase, decrease question? Because it's not saying increase something by 30% or decrease something by 30%. They're just saying 30% of the class. 30% of the class. Whereas here, they're saying the price drops by 30%. It decreased by 30%. Okay, so as soon as you see that, you're going to write out this formula. So the original times 1 plus or minus the percent equals the new. In fact, let me just get this out of the way here. So percent increase, decrease. Okay, so let's plug stuff in. What's the original price?
X.
Yeah, it's going to be X, huh? 'Cause we don't have any idea what that is. All right. Is it plus or minus on this one?
Minus.
Minus because it's decrease. What do you do with the 30%? Change it to a decimal. Yeah, 0.30 or 0.3 is fine. What's the new price?
161.
Yeah, 161 is the new price, isn't it? That's the new price. So there's our equation. We can solve for the original. So what is 1 minus 0.30? 0.70. In other words, if 30% of the price is removed, the price is 70% of what it used to be. Dana?
Wouldn't the 0.70 still be negative?
Well, it's positive because 1 minus 0.30? Oh, you're thinking because it's a drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, good question. Yeah, the negative part is the 0.30, but it's a drop from the original 1, so so it comes out positive on that. Cammy?
Will this be on a calculator or no calculator portion?
This would be on the calculator portion.
Okay, so. Okay.
Yeah, so you'd have your calculator. This would be on part 2. If you take a look at the practice exam, this would be on part 2 where you have your calculator. All right, so how do we finish solving for x? Yeah, it's just divide, huh? So you could use your calculators on that. So somebody have a number there?
230.
230. So the original price was 230. It dropped 30% to the new price of 161. Is that good? Questions on that? Cammy?
Since we have calculators, couldn't we just, instead of simplifying within the parentheses, just divide it by the whole in the parentheses?
Oh, you totally could. Yeah, if you want to just leave it 1 minus 0.30, yep, that'd work fine. All right. Let's see. John got a 20% raise, 39.05. Okay. So number 2. John got a 22% raise. His new salary is, what did it say? $39.05 per hour. What was the original salary? All right, give that one a try. So notice the word again, the raise. So it's percent increase, decrease. Maybe I wrote it down wrong. That's good. Yeah, if you need to round it, go ahead. All right, original times 1
Okay, so that would just be
plus or minus. Okay, so do we know the original price?
32.02.
What do we do now, huh? So right now, at this point, I'm just going to call it x. And is it a plus or minus? Is this an increase or decrease? Yeah, raise is an increase, huh? The percentage? 0.22. The new price or new salary? 39.05. So that's 1.22. 39.05. How do we finish solving? Divide again. So what is the answer? Straight?
it's 0.008.
So it rounds to 32.
So it rounds to 32. 008.
Well,
Zero.
if you round it up, wouldn't it be 01?
Yeah, it would be. That's why I don't know how far they want us to round. Let's see. It doesn't say. 008. So yeah, usually they want us to round to the nearest cent. So we'll say 3201. If they want us to round to the nearest cent. So I don't know which way they would put it on there. I didn't see it on the question. So you can try either answer. Is that good? Does that make sense? On a test, I'd be fine with either one. Questions I can answer? All right, we have 15 minutes. So that's the same. Yeah, so I'm going to break into another kind. So 1, 2. No, let's jump down to 6 actually. 6. Okay. Okay, so inflation is 4% per year. $500 a month apartment is going to be how much in 10 years? We do a little inflation here. So this is going to push the general idea we just came up with. It's going to push us one step further. So how would you recognize this first off as a percent increase, decrease? How do you know it's a percent increase or decrease? Which one is it?
Increase.
Yeah, it's inflation. Yeah, it's an increase. So it's a percent increase, right? We have something going up, percent increase. How much is it going to be in 10 years? Let me give you a chance. Rather than me just science classes, is because you're running into tons of problems you want to do. One good strategy, remember what I said, this is the one I've said the most often, is to make a simpler question. Right? Because this is hard. This is kind of hard. So what a good thing to do would be, look, I don't know. How could I take this same exact question and make it simpler? What's the hard part? What's the new part of this question? What's throwing us off? What's the curveball? What's the new part?
In 10 years.
The 10 years. Right? That's the new part. That's what's confusing. We haven't done 10 years before. So what would we be used to? What could they have said there that would be normal for us? Well, 1 year, right? If they just said $500 apartment, 4% inflation, how much 1 year later? That you could do, right? So do that first. Start there. Remember, make a simpler question. Start there. Get that answer. Write down what you would do. And then step back and think, okay, could I do 1 more year? Okay, so the formula, it's on the board, is original times 1 plus or minus percent equals new. Okay. What's the original price? That's the 500. So this time it's not X, is it? It's just the 500. That's the original price. So $500, the original price, okay. Is it plus or minus? Plus, it's increase. And the percentage, 0.04. Watch out to do 0.04, not 0.4, right? 0.04, okay. And that you can do, right? And somebody got that on their calculator, so I guess I will go for an answer. What is it, 520? 520? Is that what it is? $520. Okay, so that's after 1 year. We agree? That would be the new price after 1 year. That would increase it 4%. So that's nothing new for us. That's what you already know. So that's after 1 year. So now at the start of the second year, can we do it again? Can we again do original times 1 plus or minus percent equals new for the second year? So what would happen in the second year? What does the price start at in the second year? Well, the 520, right? We've increased it 1 year. So now the original at the start of the second year is 520, right? change the color here, is 520. Okay. And 1 plus 0.04. Can you hit the buttons on the calculator? What's that one going to be? 520.8? Is it 540.8? Is that what it is? Okay. So again, we don't really care about the answers. So what did we do for the second year? What did I do right there? Same thing. Yeah. Is this add, subtract, multiply, divide? I multiplied, right, by 1.04 a second time. Do you see what's happening? So I took the original 500, I multiplied by 1.04 once, I multiplied by 1.04 again. Noel?
Can't you just put an exponent on top?
Beautiful. Yeah. So what would be my tell me the whole thing. What did I start with?
I put an exponent, I put y for years, and I put 10 on top, and then I just did what's in the parentheses, and I square rooted it by 10.
Well, wait, what's the original price?
500.
That's the 500. And we're going to multiply by 1.04, like Noel's saying. How many times are we going to multiply by 1.04? 10 times. How do you say 1.04 times 1.04 times 10 times? Yeah, what Noel's saying, huh? To the 10th power. And that'll be the new price, won't it? Do you know where the power button is on your calculator? It's either the up arrow or it's X to the Y or Y to the X or something like that. Or it might be X with a little box in the upper right-hand corner. Depends on the calculator. They're all a little different. Yeah. Yeah, so we're just increasing 4% 10 times. So what Noel said is right in the money. Just put it to the 10th power. Somebody got an answer there? I got my calculator. I can do that one.
740.
Know what it is. Yeah, 740.12. I don't know if they want the pennies. $740.12. Y'all able to get that? If you had trouble with that, grab me after. Be glad to help you. If you had trouble with your calculator, because I know they're all a little different. And just grab me. Just take 10 seconds. Grab me individually. How we doing? We good there? Questions on that one? Does that make sense? Dude, does it make sense the thinking? Because again, these formulas, you're not going to use these particular formulas probably ever in your life. But the method of thinking you're going to teach, and you're going to have to demonstrate in math. Try this one. So number 6. We'll just do number 6 with our 5 minutes that remain. Abigail's salary was reduced by 1/8. If her monthly salary was $2,400, what will it be now? So is that a percent increase, decrease?
Yeah.
Yeah, even though it's a fraction, same thing, right? As we talked about, fraction, percentage, decimal, 3 languages to say a portion. So yeah, they're using a fraction this time, but that's the same thing as a percentage or a decimal. And if you want to translate it, use your calculator. These will be on the portion of the test with your calculator. So you can just do that with the calculator. But the main point is they are increasing, decreasing, aren't they? So use the same formula. See if you can get part A and then part B. Give you a second. And so the formula is... So I'm going to start off with the formula. Original, and it's going to be 1 plus or minus percent is new. Okay, so the 2,400. According to the words, is that 2,400 the original price or the price after an increase or decrease? Yeah, it's original. Hi, it was 2,400. That was the original, right? Good, 2,400. Okay. Now, is it being increased or decreased? Yeah, reduced, decreased. So 1 minus. Now, I'll just put an 8 there. You could change it to decimal. It doesn't really matter. Equals new. Or you could do like Cami was saying and just divide by that whole thing in the calculator. That'd be totally fine as well. Any of those options is fine. You might have, for example, divided 1 divided by 8 and got 0.125. I'm assuming probably that's what most of you did. That's great. That's one great way to do it. And then you could subtract that, and that would be 0.875. That's totally fine. And then how do I... I don't even know why I'm doing all these steps. You could just, at any point, you could just multiply. I was going to divide. We don't need to divide here, do we? right? We just need to multiply these. I'm not going to divide anything. Just multiply those in your calculator.
2100.
No, it is 2100. Thank you. 2100 is the new price. It makes sense that it's lower than it was. Now, how about part B with our last 2 minutes here? Part B, her new salary was 2,800. So I'm going to go down here. Original times 1 plus or minus percent is new. So the 2,800, is that the original or the new? Well, it says new right there, huh? So that's the new. 2,800, and the original is X, 1, and it's reduced to 1 minus 1/8. Same thing, you can make that 0.875 like I showed in the last one. And this time you would divide, huh? We do have to divide by, if you can read that, 0.875. Somebody got an answer?
3200.
3,200 was her salary before it was reduced. All right. We did.